Let's go back quite some time. I'm not exactly sure how much. I maybe will look up how much time and write it down somewhere here. Back then, I stumbled upon Cathy Hay. For me, an insanely strong and inspiring person. And her project with the peacock dress. Since then, her story and the dress stuck with me. And it's more or less half a year ago that I decided I want to make a doll-sized peacock dress. And I bought everything for it and started the embroidery, which you will see now. Yeah, and then she posted the video where she talked about maybe not doing it anymore. I was quite... I didn't really know what to make of it. Because there is so much of her heart blood that is in this project, and she did so much to research and set things more or less right. Of course, I don't want to argue that the peacock dress isn't a symbol for a lot of bad stuff. That is not what I want to say. I understand why this dress, or recreating this dress, could be viewed as disrespectful or harmful for some people. I totally get it. I still think Cathy should make it because, first of all, it is a part of her life for so long now. And she did so much to find out who did the embroidery, for example, and that was added to the museum's page just because of her, what I think is amazing. That is why I still think Cathy should do it, but I do respect her decision not to make it. And I think it's such a strong message and a strong decision that she is willing to give up something that was so important for her for all these years to comfort people she don't even know. And that is something we all should keep more in mind. I think we live in a time where you can't do anything right, because you will offend someone. Yeah, but let's go back. So I was left with the doll and some of the materials. And I thought about what to do with it, and in the end I wanted to use the pattern. I already made the hip pad thing, and I had the flowers and stuff like that. So I wanted to use some of the stuff. And I settled on something more fantasy-like. In the end, we have kind of a Victorian stage outfit for a depiction of Titania from Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream. That was at least what ended it. That is at least what ended up in my head when she was finished. So why not just let's call her Titania. Yeah. Enough talky-talky, let's go and make her. Though the dress was already done at this point, I knew what color of hair I wanted for her to suit the dress. So the blonde hair had to go and was replaced by some light blue one. And yeah, I rerouted her, and when that was done I wrapped cling film around her head, secured it with some pins, and started the whole repaint portion.
I approached it a little bit different than normal. I put on a lot of soft pastels in strange areas, especially with them being blue. But I decided for her to have a very monochromatic color scheme, so yeah. And I thought, though she is a fantasy character and kind of Titania, why not go all bonkers on her and make something that I don't typically do? That is where the whole interesting shading comes in. Yeah. Until I added some rhinestones in the end to her face, I wasn't even sure if I liked how she looked. But I went on, and in the end, I think it is quite nice looking with, the more strange makeup. But to be honest, I really had to convince myself to go on with it and not start again. Because, most of the time, most of the time while I repainted her, I was like, that looks terrible. In the end, it turned out, so I'm quite happy about it. And because of everything that was already going on with her, I decided, let's keep the eyes as simple as possible. I first thought, let's make them a very light blue too, but I think you would not be able to see them. Or, they would... the rest of the face would distract from them. So I decided to use mainly black, a little bit of very dark blue, so you can't really see that there is something else than black. At the first moment it looked quite lifeless, but as soon as I added the highlights, it turned out quite nice. The lips I only put on a pearlescent medium that you normally would mix in with other acrylics, but why not use it as it is? And then I started to glue on some rhinestones and some lashes and basically the whole gluing on things to her head part to make her look even more fancy. And I debated quite a long time if I want to put something on her forehead, but I decided not to, and I think it's already more than enough. After trimming the lashes a little bit, it was time to free her hair, comb it out, and decide on what kind of hairdo I want her to have. I had in mind the styles that most of the Gibson girls are depicted with. So I made a little hair rat out of the hair that I combed out and tried to style a half updo. So front and sides Gibson girl-esque with a bun on top, and the back should flow nicely and fall in curls in the end. But after I did the main portion of the styling, I decided it looked not so great. I planned for a more messy approach on it, and I still sewed everything in place, gave her her bun, and was not convinced. And then I went into my bedroom for 2 or 3 hours to take a nap. And when I came back to her, I decided, just no. That's not what I pictured when I thought about her. Basically, it is okay, but no. I didn't like it. So I removed everything again, brushed her out again, tried some different stuff, like just twirling parts around itself and having two of these twisted things around her head to resemble more of the style, and that didn't look great either. And in the end, after trying this for quite some time, I decided to go with the most basic hairstyle. Just 2 parts of the hair coming from the sides, tied together. First I thought about giving her a bun with them, but that looked insanely bad either, so I just closed some hair in the back and then put on the decorations that I had in mind, like this hair piece with this piece with the 3 roses, and then I stitched some of the flowers in place that I had for the dress, and with that I called it a day. Not exactly how I imagined her, but it's okay. I can live with it. It's definitely better than my Gibson Girl attempt. Another project where the hair was horrible. Let's talk about the dress, because it's more or less the main attraction of everything. I tried to film the progress, or the process. The problem was that I was mainly out of focus or out of frame, so there is not a lot I can show you. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I worked for the first time with a new camera and I really had to get used to it. So, I first started by dyeing a cotton fabric in a gradient from a dark blue to a very light one, and then put an overlay on top of it that was made out of chiffon, and slapped some ribbons onto it, more or less resembling a pattern like a stained glass window. And I basted the 2 skirt layers together while hand stitching all of the ribbons in place. Then I added these floral details that you saw first. Woohoo! The flowers were originally planned for the hem of the peacock dress. Basically just white flowers. I took them apart and colored them with some alcohol ink so that I had different shades of blue to imitate the gradient that was going on underneath. Then it was time for one of my least favorite activities, putting on rhinestones. But, I love rhinestones. I think they are so pretty when they are catching the light, and for a dress like this, I couldn't go without. There had to be as many rhinestones as possible. I still tried to add them in a kind of pattern, especially for the, let's call it stained glass part. I just followed the curve that I made and put the thickest one in the middle, and from there on got smaller and smaller. This was done all the way around. The whole skirt was bedazzled. And I just like it. I think it looks pretty. For the first time I used this hotfix device thing instead of just the iron. And I'm not completely sure. Not all of them stayed in place, but it's okay. Then, out of an old shopping bag my mom had laying around that was exactly the color I pictured, I made a corset, put on one sleeve, and sewed everything together. I really wish I could show you the process, but as I mentioned, meh, out of frame. Then I made the mistake to add some more of the rhinestones while the doll was inside the dress, and that melted the plastic a little bit. So, yeah, not the best idea, but she will wear the dress for all eternity, so no one will see it. I'm convinced it is okay. Yeah, and with that, her dress was done. And I have to say, I really, really like it.
With that, she is done, and I think she turned out quite nice. But there is one thing I am still debating, and that is when I made her wing piece, I thought about making her some dragonfly wings to get her even more into the fantasy realm, and yeah, a bit of a fairy queen. Yeah. I made a dragonfly wing with nail polish, the same way I did the earpiece, and was not completely happy with it and thought maybe I should make it out of resin, and yeah. In the end I thought that could be too much. She already has quite a lot of stuff on her, and to add even more could be far too much. So I deviated from it. But I would like to have your opinion on it. Do you think she needs her wings, or is she better suited without them? Let me know what you think in the comments below. And we will see us again in December. I hope you have a great time. And until then, bye.